kind of funny how this trend seems to be going on and on with cars riding super low. I don't know. I kind of like them riding a little high. Sort of like how truck stang is. But, yeah, we got a solution for this. Alright, we're getting ready to do some more suspension work here. We have a pair of rear struts here, and we also have these hunkin' hefty plastic rubbery spacer thingies, because as the title states, we're going to raise the rear end of the Scion up. Yep, the trusty Scion. Why are we going to raise this thing up? Well, because even when you have good struts on here, which this thing does not currently have, if you hit irregularities in the road and you do a lot of bouncing around, that wheel scrapes underneath the quarter panel. And if this thing is under load, it starts dragging ass a little bit. And with all that up and down action, you get a lot of scraping on the quarter panel. Now that little damage there, that was not from that, but just the idea that the wheel scraping will cause damage on your quarter panel as well as the plastic bumper. So I want to raise the rear end up a little bit, so even with the new struts, the rear end will be raised up enough so even if I throw 20 bags of concrete back here, we'll at least have a decent enough ride height so we're not getting all the scraping. In order to do this, we have some replacement studs that go on these caps for the struts. We have to knock these little bitty ones out and somehow draw these things on there. If I can't tap them in place with a regular hammer, I'll just have to put a spacer on here and then use the nut with an impact wrench to just draw the thing on. So I'm going to go ahead, get our hammer, see how hard it's going to be to knock these things out as well as pull them back in. So as usual, stand by. Alright, I have one stud in so far. Had to use my regular hammer here to beat this thing out since the baby sledge is too wide to try to knock these things out without just nicking and dinging the rest of the strut. But after some beating, I was able to knock out our little bitty stud right here. The hole right here that has the little teeth in it, you're not going to be able to knock these things in there easily, if at all, without distorting this cap right here. So the solution to that was to take some spacers and put them on here. That isn't screwing on there, but it's just loosely grabbing the tread there. But okay, now we're on the shaft. Took this, put this regular nut on there, and then we use our trusty impact wrench to easily draw it on there. Just give it little short bursts and watch it as it draws the thing on there, which as we can see, we are completely on there. So hopefully you have an impact wrench that'll allow you to do this type of work. Otherwise, you might spend some time trying to sit there with a hammer beating the thing on, or even using a breaker bar and and some leverage to try to hold this thing while you wrench the thing on there. But to each his own. That's what's going to have to happen in order to get these studs swapped out. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these done, and we're going to go ahead and get these things on the car. So stand by again. Alright, we got all three of our studs on, and we have our spacer on. Just like with the studs drawing them on, I had to use the impact wrench with the nut to help squish the spacer as flush as possible with the base here. Now, one might ask what happens when the struts go bad. Well, instead of buying a whole strut, I'll just put our compressor tools on here, squeeze that spring down, break this thing loose, and only replace the shock. That way we're keeping this whole base portion with our studs and spacer and all that crap. That way we're not sitting here trying to knock all this junk loose and do the same thing on a new set of struts. So with that all said and done, I'll go ahead and get that one done, and go ahead and get these things on the car so we can see how our rear end is sitting or raised up. So as usual, stand by. Oh, just to make a note, when it comes to installing struts like this, you're probably going to have to use a little assistance because, well, you got to be able to push this entire control arm assembly as far down as possible. Hence our leverage right here with the hunk of pipe. And that's probably going to require another body to put that dead weight on that hunk of pipe or whatever leverage you have, so you can get that down so you can work the strut in place and be able to get the bottom bolt in. Otherwise, you are going to struggle very severely trying to get all this garbage together. So the normal procedure to install a strut is amplified when it comes to putting one on with this spacer stuff on there. So I'm going to get this tire on. Stand by. All right. We got our struts on after a little bit of fighting, but they're on, and the car is currently resting on its wheels and all. And as you could see, we got a little bit of ride height here. It's pretty much up there. It's kind of funny because, well, right now it looks like that, but I'm sure once the thing starts bouncing up and down through normal driving, things are going to settle a little bit. Plus those spacers are made out of some type of hard rubbery stuff, so I'm sure that too will give a little bit and cause everything to settle down so it won't look exactly like this. But yep, we got our new struts on with the spacers, and we got a high riding ass right here. So with that, that's what's involved with that type of modification. They also make the same thing for the front struts if you want to raise the front up just as well, whether you want to put some huge rims on the car, or if you're building some type of Baja off-road racing version of this car, or any car for that matter, you can add spacers on there and get the ride height you want so you can be able to traverse any terrain, almost any terrain. But that's what is involved with this. So we're done now. Till the next time, as usual, like, subscribe, notifications, TikTok, all that good stuff. And we'll go ahead and catch you later. We're out. It's hot out here.